And as Natasha lay there, the sheets draped across her, she smiled as her whole body, the whole room, quaked just a little bit.
My God, Zach, that was the most disgusting piece of fan fiction I have ever heard. There is no possible way we are airing that smut. We are here to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Now let's never speak of this again.
I liked it.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
Hello there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. We are here to, because it's the Space Jam. I do just kind of want to dance to this every time I hear it.
Look, we're in space now for some reason. We're gonna jam.
Is it space or is it time travel?
It's both.
We'll talk about it.
Traveling through space is traveling through time. Everyone knows
Oh,
Don't
well
science
said.
me, Jesse.
that. I apologize.
Well, hey there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans. Welcome to another episode of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show on AfterBuzz TV. Tonight we are talking about Seasons 5, Episodes 1 and 2, Orientation. Let's not waste any time. Let me introduce my fantastic panel. To my left, Jesse Klein.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Long time no see. Super excited to talk about this. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1.
To his left, Tehran.
I'm not on board with anything that just happened. You guys really just stopped my fan fiction, which I thought was brilliant. That was excellent, by the way. That I feel the quake. Shuddered. But I am Tehran, literally at I am Tehran all across the board. Please find me on social media and Twitter, and never play the Space Jam theme song again.
How dare, we will do no such thing. And to his left, Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I'm here jamming out, guys. I'm Zach Wilson. Find me on Twitter, Instagram, all the places at that Zach Wilson. It's playing again. I'm excited to talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. S.H.I.E.L.D. is back.
Yes.
It's been ages, guys, and we are so excited. Zach has you guys covered on the live chat, but we are also going to be keeping an eye on the hashtag ABTVMarvel, and I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me directly at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. For those of you watching on YouTube, you know, we are now over on the AfterBuzz Sci-Fi Superhero channel, and for those of you guys listening on iTunes, you might have noticed that our iTunes feed name has changed. So if you guys are looking for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show, don't type in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show. What you should type in is Marvel TV Weekly. That is where you can find our new feed.
Or go to the AfterBuzz TV page on iTunes, and you can find everything under that.
The show we just watched was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
It didn't.
I thought some of the people were familiar, and of course I could recognize Daisy anywhere. But
You didn't call her Sky.
I didn't realize.
Yeah, he's like, literally, the first time she's on screen, he's like, I love you, Daisy.
But his point is there because, like, I'm just gonna say it off the top. This doesn't feel like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like this. The seasons with Sky running around, like, that feels like a completely different show
I used to love
from
her.
what we just watched.
Yeah, we've definitely come a long way. We went from, you know, fighting aliens in a secluded place in Tibet to a fake digital world, and now we're just in space. Space that has a fake digital world inside of it.
So we've been to an alien planet.
Yes.
We've been into digital world.
Yeah.
We've dealt with aliens. So really, we're just shoving it all together.
Now,
Yeah.
here's the question, though. Since it doesn't feel much like an espionage show at the moment, do we feel like this step forward, literally into the future, feels like a natural progression of the show, or do we feel like that's as a result of the budgetary constraints that have been forced upon the show?
Well, I think, as Matt kindly pointed out, it's the only thing we haven't done yet.
That makes
And
sense.
while we're talking about budgetary constraints, I noticed a lot of special effects in this episode.
Yeah.
Plus, the script writing is much better. Not that it wasn't good before, but this episode, the script writing was almost flawless. I was very appreciative of the humor and the insight that was placed in it. It had some rom-com, it had some drama, it had some V for V for Vendetta. It had political takes on things, and I thought it was brilliant.
I think, Tehran, I feel like every new character we were introduced to, you instantly fell in love with.
Cassius is now my new favorite. I just enjoyed, but it was like every villain was a Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey. Like, no one else felt like this is, especially in modern day with everything going on, there was so much sexual harassment going on.
It was
I'm
pretty
not
creepy.
touching that.
It was pretty creepy.
That's a good policy in general in Hollywood.
That's the way you should be.
Yeah.
Jesse, you were about to
Well,
chime
we
in.
were talking about the budget. Yeah, I mean, this was a 2-hour show, and we maybe had 5 locations total. Like, everything is shot in a studio or on screen. Like, this is a way cheaper show than it's ever been. Like, there was a lot of CGI, but CGI is relatively cheap instead of having to go and book a location and shoot, like, you know, there were episodes in
Especially in
Really
Los
tell that to
Angeles.
Thor Ragnarok, because that was costly and it was CGI.
Yeah, but the parts that were not CGI were costly. The CGI in general, like, the level of CGI in this, like, is cheaper.
Putting in one creature as opposed to creating a whole world
Yeah.
is a different story. And so, like, this is clearly, I don't know if this is an intentional, like, budget saving measure.
It's gotta
but
be.
it is definitely it's a different feel for the show. And I gotta be honest, like, I'm not 100% sure I'm on board with it yet. Like, I agree with Tehran. Like, the script is there. Like, the writing
Yeah.
is still as good as it ever was.
It's better.
But the story right now, like, where we are, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has always been a spy show.
And they're not spies
this is
right
like
now. They're not
they're
acting
just,
like spies.
And I also don't know why they're here. Like, this was an outside force just, like, deciding that we're gonna just shove these people into the future. And because we have nothing to go on in terms of why we got sent here,
Have to
I'm
keep
having
watching the
trouble.
show, Zach.
I'm having trouble investing in
I have a feeling-
anything that's happening.
I have a feeling in, like, 3 or 4 episodes, or maybe, like, when we get the Fitz episode, like, we see,
Yeah.
like, what Fitz is doing in the past. And, like, I think if the writers do something really cool where it's, like, there are things that are changing currently in the future, like, all of a sudden, like, there are people helping them out, and they figure out that it's, like, Fitz who's affecting the past to, like, help them in the future. Like, I think that'd be really fun.
I think we get program fits like in the framework, like
Yeah.
a hard, like, so they said they had to rebuild the software, but there's like a hardware or like a firmware fits like that's just hard coded into the framework.
It'd be great.
And he's gonna pop up like, Daisy, you've got to.
like I think as soon as we get, like, context, it will help more. But yeah, us, much like the agents, we got dropped in the middle of this story
Very much so.
without knowing really what's going on.
And let's talk about this cold open a little bit, where we get who on IMDb he's listed as the silhouetted man, going through an extended pool montage, and then
God, talking heads too. I mean, if that's all their budget was on talking heads, I'm okay with it.
The chat, I really like, is the Talking Heads intro theme a MODOK reference?
I hope so, chat.
Graham Mosquito
Yeah.
said that, and I'm on board.
Okay, so we know for a fact that Enoch isn't human. He literally pulled off his skin before he launched all of our heroes into the future with this, I guess, time portal monolith.
Yeah.
Now, and also on IMDb, he is named Enoch, and there are a couple different Enochs in the not necessarily in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but in the Marvel Universe at large.
Yeah.
Do we have any idea who this guy might be or how significant he is?
It sounds familiar to me, but I'll have to do some Google foo later on to try and figure out, because Enoch seems like a super, like, specific Marvel name.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are like in the Marvel universe. They're all one-shot characters that have. There's like a weird scientist that was in one issue of like Journey into Mystery who like created a dimensional travel device which lines up, but like there's no reason. There's not. He's not an alien.
Yeah. And then
who has to like put his skin on the ground.
Yeah, there's one that's in the in more of like the X-Men sort of thing where he's like a goat man, and that sort of fits with not being human, but at the same time, what that has to do with time travel
But
eludes
Why
me.
have we decided Enoch's not human?
Because he ripped off his skin before
Much
he
like
took a
he
shower.
His clothes away, and then he's like, "Well, this suit."
He could have powers. It's not
Yeah,
like
He could be an
he could
Inhuman.
he could be an Inhuman. We've seen this before. It's not like
That's very
he didn't
true.
do anything. He did something sinister in Vision,
No.
but it wasn't.
He
completely
could
out of
very
the
well
realm.
be just an Inhuman who happened to, get the short end of the stick when it came to his Terrigenesis transformation.
Yeah.
Who knows? That still doesn't answer the question of who he's working
I do
for.
wonder if it's related to the biblical Enoch,
Yeah.
who is an ancestor of Noah. And I'm using Wikipedia here, so like asterisks on all this information.
Take this with a grain of salt.
You haven't memorized the Old Testament?
Book of Genesis.
But he's like said to have lived for like over 300 years, and the big quote is like, he walked with God and he was no more, for God took him. Which, if you read in like biblical sense, you're like, oh, he went to heaven. But if you read it in like a Marvel sense,
You're like, oh.
aliens done got that guy.
Took him to the future.
Okay, so we're
That's
gonna
why
go
he
on
lived
a
for
limb and say
300
not
years.
this guy.
Probably not this guy,
not this
but
guy.
it's worth bringing up for sure. So we'll put a pin in Enoch for right now because I'm sure this isn't the last we're seeing of him. I'm sure we'll see more when we get our Fitz episode. But our heroes get transported one by one to
Through
the
Monolith 2.0.
Yeah.
through Monolith 2.0 to a space station called the Lighthouse. And that's where they meet Virgil and a couple other NPCs that totally get killed off by these creatures called roaches.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I like the look of the roaches. Like, as far as alien-esque creatures go that suck out your insides, like, they're pretty cool looking.
The Vrelnexian are in the Marvel universe, and they kind of look like what they showed them. They got like 6 legs, and they're kind of gray looking and weird. So I mean, they kind of nailed that.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing has a very, like, last couple seasons of Doctor Who
Yes!
vibe to
Very
it. Like,
Doctor Who, yeah.
Everything about the sets, these creatures.
Being in the future, the,
characters
end of
we
the
meet.
world.
Well,
Yeah,
let's
the like
hope-
random characters who are like, this is just the way society works in this part.
Everything
Click.
taking place on one set.
Let's hope that it's very Doctor Who-esque because Doctor Who was on air for a very long time.
Yeah, sure.
And it doesn't seem like this show is going to be on air for a very long
Look,
time.
they're still watching Doctor Who on the Lighthouse station.
I'm
They're
so
on like
excited.
the 80th Doctor.
And she's running around and having adventures, being great.
I liked the monolith tech. I like bringing that back. That's like a universal technology. I think that's really cool, and also really fun world building. We're like, oh, yeah, why wouldn't you have more than one teleportation stone like that? Like, it made sense to me.
So, so I guess if it's Kree, if it's still
Yeah.
related to the
Yeah.
Kree, so if we think like Enoch is probably Kree, although
Yeah.
they have different methods for disguise than like a rubber suit.
Although
Yeah.
it's interesting that you guys bring that up, that there was a Kree thing, because the last time there was a monolith that we saw used in this show, it was for the Kree to just quietly put away Hive.
Yeah.
So it seems like they use monoliths to get rid of all of their problems.
But if Enoch is Kree, the god that the Krees worship is a giant talking head. So it brings the talking heads all the way back.
Oh man, if we
that's a really
see
hard wink,
the
wink, wink.
Supreme
Yeah,
intelligence,
if we see that.
dear God,
That's fantastic.
I have to think they're holding that for Captain Marvel though.
You
That's gotta be for
I
Captain
would
Marvel.
never think I would say this. I just hope it's MODOK because that would just bother me. If you're just right on that, it would just bother me.
I think
Well,
that's gotta be
I
safe for
think-
Captain Marvel.
I think
The
anything
Badoon.
is fair game at this point because, again, we haven't been given a ton of context. When we're transported onto the lighthouse, Virgil doesn't get a chance to explain a whole lot before he is eaten by one of these roaches.
Actually, I realized that communication problems was the main problem of every human that was on the station.
Yeah.
They just didn't have an effective means of communicating with one another. Virgil took forever to just explain
He was so
something that could have been
starstruck.
special and simple and to the point. Like, hey, you're Coulson? Guess why I brought you here? Because this, and this happened, and now we need you to do this,
That
and
was
this.
that was
He's
a very
both there.
screenwritery thing to do.
It was like, it's so very convenient.
And then Deke just wasn't able to communicate to May. Hey, May, I'm actually trying to help you.
Yeah.
Like, just simple communication things.
Talking about Deke, now I look at him and I have a lot of mixed feelings about this guy because I look at him and I'm like, I like you, but you're also clearly very like a Han Solo-esque where you're only looking out for yourself right now. Is anybody getting like a Star-Lord-esque kind of vibe from this guy?
Well, I mean, clearly they wanted you to think that because his introduction was with
Very much
like,
the helmet,
a
like that
similar style.
Ultraman
The
looking
helmet,
helmet.
the like not Star-Lord leather jacket.
Yeah.
I thought it was a Rocketeer jacket for a minute.
In my notes, I was like, if this helmet dude ends up being Ward, I'm gonna be so angry.
He's sort of like if Ward and Star-Lord had a really disappointing child.
Disappointed.
Although he's smart, he's very smart.
Yeah.
Resourceful.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Well, and like can code and make fake universes.
from like again like the remnants of the world that was, and through him and Virgil and a couple other characters we meet, we basically find out that Earth in the future has been destroyed and is left as like this kind of weird crescent, shell of its
Which
former
still
self.
had like either clouds or snow caps
Yeah,
on.
which was
Type of
weird.
atmosphere.
And I was like, why is there gravity there? Like, I didn't understand how any of it worked. May May was basically in a Saw movie for the first half of this
Jeez,
show.
yeah.
For the first hour, like she gets teleported into a pole, and then immediately after,
ripping it out of her, uses it as a weapon.
Yeah, but then immediately after, Deke cuts into her with a knife to put the what do you call it? The
Metrics.
metric in. And I was like, what is going on? How is May standing up right now?
And then later in the episode,
fighting
yeah,
people.
she's got her leg wrapped up and she is kicking the crud out of somebody who decided to go all Hunger Games on everybody.
It's gonna be May.
Don't think
I'm just saying that's a testament to how awesome May is.
Yeah.
But talking about, again, to get back to Deke, now, somebody brought up the possibility that maybe he's a descendant of Fitz. Now, how likely do we think that is?
That
Or
was me.
do we think that's a likely sort of role for him to play, given that he was able to put the framework together? Or do we just think he's a smart person who's just tired of
Wait, I thought
putting
you thought
his life...
Virgil.
I thought I got it backwards. I thought it was Virgil, and Jesse threw in that it was Deke.
Yeah. Just because he's like doing stuff with the framework.
The point
like,
is somebody's gonna be related to Fitz.
there's gotta be a Fitz child, and then again, like, then it's gonna be like Simmons being like,
I don't think there's
I
a
guess
Fitz child, because Fitz would only have a child with Simmons, and they didn't have a
But
kid.
how else
But
do
how
we
do
get
you
that
catapult
postcard?
How do you know they didn't have a kid?
Because
Because
catapulted to the future.
Yes,
so she
but-
couldn't have had a child.
But if she goes back into the past after this moment, then she and Fitz can have a baby
But don't
that goes to the future.
If that's true, then they have to go back, and still the world gets destroyed.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely. Yeah.
Here's the question, guys, because we're dipping our toes into wibbly wobbly timey wimey sort of territory, in that if our heroes do go back in time and save the Earth, then does this entire reality get destroyed?
They've already
as a
destroyed
result?
one reality.
Or is it like are we dealing with multiverse theory here? Which either way, Marvel as a whole hasn't dealt with time travel as of yet, as of this
The
moment.
MCU.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well, we did do time travel in Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
That's true.
It was mild. It wasn't like crazy. We're going back to 1920s
Yeah.
time travel, but
Even that, but they made it very clear that
it was isolated.
You do not mess with this.
Yeah.
And this is very taboo. You restrict it to a minimal as much as you
Taboo.
can.
I mean, if we're going with how the comic books work, then it's both and neither, because they never answer the question ever.
It's whatever serves the story.
Yeah, I would
in the
assume.
comics.
I would assume that this is a multiple universe kind of thing, where there's one of many possibilities that will continue to exist in this terrible universe, no matter what they do in the past.
Yeah,
it's a branch. Yeah.
But again, like, we don't know why, like, without knowing why they're here, or even
Yeah.
like a hint. All we have is this unknown character who's like thrown them into this scenario. So
And then immediately
we have
died.
literally nothing to go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Why did Virgil believe in Shield?
This could be an alternate universe where they're being sent to like learn a lesson so they don't break the Earth, or they could be like sent into the future so that they know what to come back and fix. Like what? Like there's
Why would the Kree send the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents to the future to stop the Kree?
assuming
that's-
like if he's Kree, we
he's
don't
Kree,
know
yeah,
that he's
that's what I'm
Kree.
saying. If we're assuming he's
Unless
Kree,
he's a Skrull.
I'm saying he's not Kree. I'm also, since you're the science expert,
I'm not a science
Is
expert.
wibbly wobbly timmy timey an actual scientific
That-
theory?
No, that is
That
a
is the
term.
technical term.
Oh,
yes.
technical. I was just making sure
That
because
is a term
Are you
in
seeing it in the
reference
chat
to.
and just very confused?
no, I didn't.
That is
realize
a
The chat
that's a
is-
Doctor Who reference.
I was just wondering if that's
Wibbly, no, so
when I write my thesis on Einstein.
Yes.
I wanted to make sure that
no,
space-time
it's just
theory.
it's just something
use the
that
proper term.
Doctor Who fans use to explain, like when time travel doesn't make sense, which it
Interesting.
often doesn't. You just say it's wibbly wimey, timey wimey stuff.
Yeah,
whatever.
it was
Wobbly,
from
timey-wimey.
it was from the episode Blink, and it was used to just
Justify some
hand wave.
It's just like, look, don't worry about all the plot holes involved in time travel, except this one thing, and then we're gonna move forward.
Speaking of which, I like how when Mac brings up maybe we're still in the mainframe, and then everyone's like, no, I'm not gonna think about that. Like that's my favorite.
It's like my head's gonna explode.
talking
That's
about
my favorite explaining away. Like we're just not gonna, guys. We realize that it's a possibility. We're telling you this is not the mainframe. Like
I
we're not in
loved-
it.
That was the writers being like, that's not this.
I
It's
loved
just
not
Mac
just
in
ignore
this
those
episode.
thoughts.
Mac was so on point in this episode, talking about the framework and doing my favorite thing and telling everybody, no, we are in a horror movie scenario. We are not splitting up.
Well,
that is a
and they all
very
just
bad
like
idea.
creeping through the hall. Daisy's got her hand out like,
Seeing Mac and May's like how they both, because Mac's like, when we're done, I'm quitting. This is BS. Like we don't have any downtime. I think he said like I'm not okay with the amount of time we get in between crazy
Trials
adventures.
and tribulations.
Yeah, it's trials and tribulations. Like I'm not okay with it. And then May's like, we in space. Coulson's like, yep. She's like, okay.
Cool.
Like that's it. Like,
I thought you were gonna say your favorite thing he did was all of a sudden speak Spanish because he
that
learned it
was
in the
lovely.
framework.
he learned it in the framework because Hope's school. You had to learn
Oh.
Spanish.
Brilliant, because there was a lot of these little Easter eggs of current political movements. For example, that in the framework, people spoke Spanish because clearly that's a trend linguistically in the United States. Things like silence is compliance, which was the basis of the
Oh, yeah.
society in a lot of ways, is that
Yeah.
people were just silent even though they outnumbered the Kree
Yeah.
as far as we could tell. It's just the Kree provide for us and we just try to survive.
Here's,
And that's
here's
what
a
we
question. Oh, go ahead.
do.
Go ahead.
Well, that's what we're leaning towards now, and that was just very exciting for me to watch.
Now, talking about people's metrics, and like literally that's the thing that the Kree use to keep track of everybody and let them know when this thing called the renewal needs to happen.
Some
which
Logan's Run stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Some Hunger Games,
there's like
Battle
some
Royale.
purge, like
Well, it was based on their principle. They had a specific a life earned
Is
a life spent is a life saved.
earned or something.
Yeah,
like that,
it was
like
earned and saved.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
a life
Which-
earned.
A penny earned is
a
a
now,
life saved.
here's the question:
Saved.
is this a Logan's like? Basically, if they hadn't killed, when the thing turns red, if they hadn't actually killed somebody, would the metric have killed them like Battle Royale style?
I think that's kind of the implication, or the Kree would.
Yeah, like they just come and like
Punish everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be the concept is that everyone gets punished or just a few.
Well, I think it's that you will, like, if you don't kill someone, you're gonna die. If you don't do it yourself, like, the Kree will do it for you. And you have to keep up, like, with society. Like, you have to keep, there's, like...
You have to keep earning.
Yeah,
It's
I don't know if
There's
it's,
like some
I don't know if
just-in-time
that's, like, credits,
sort
like,
of.
money, or if it's, like, a... Like a
Tokens, like,
productivity.
yeah,
It's like
it's like a...
No, it's
It's
we
like
can't
your,
explain either one.
Because it's either money or it might be like one of those like social media trackers.
Yeah.
Scores. Like,
Oh, you don't have enough followers, guys.
You
I'm
pitching
sorry.
a Black Mirror episode?
like you did your job, so you get like 5 points.
Yeah.
But you like overate, so you lose 10. Like it's like some weird social control.
Well,
Yeah.
we're saying that, and once again, it mirrors
Which is
what's
real
going on in China.
in a couple I was about to.
They
Yeah.
just specifically passed that where it's basically a citizenship award, and if you don't keep up with your score,
Yeah.
you will be punished in some way.
And you get points for like
We say, oh,
supporting
but we do
your
that
political
here.
party
Yeah, just
or
called
stuff
bullying.
like that.
It's called bullying. Welcome to the real world.
To the real world, little kid.
So talking about sort of the society on the lighthouse, we get introduced to a couple of characters. We get this awesome looking Kree female soldier named Sinara. And
love you.
again, I think it's safe to say we're all in love with her.
She's constantly juggling
We all
balls.
know I'm in love. You guys like her.
I actually really love the
I agree.
score
I'm
they
not ready
gave
to.
her.
I'm not ready to settle down with her yet. I agree to that.
You don't need
Tehran,
to.
your-
You don't
your
know what
love
her
is pure.
values.
She's very.
You don't know her values. You don't
Yeah.
know her hobbies outside of killing people.
And
Yeah.
her,
And ball juggling.
she does the thing with the balls,
Yeah.
and that's
Now, is that a
Impressive.
stress thing or?
no. But it reminds me once
She
again of
seems real
Guardian of
relaxed.
Galaxy with the whistle arrow thing.
Yep.
It seems to be a very
yeah.
similar technology.
Yeah, that's probably they were like, oh, we got a blue person. Let's give them a thing they hover. Yeah.
But we
yeah.
also get introduced to this. I suppose the head person on the lighthouse,
You
or
will respect Cassius.
the man who seems to be in charge, Cassius. When I first saw him, I was like, I'm kind of getting an Admiral Thrawn sort of vibe from this guy, but I don't know.
Just because he's blue, Megan. I
Yeah,
thought you were bigger
I'm a
than that.
racist there. No, but
I
because
knew it.
but because he seems to have an appreciation for the finer things. That's where my comparison went. Gosh, Zach, way to jump to conclusions.
Yeah, he seems. My thing is like, I don't know what the Kree are getting out of this situation. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why he is there. I don't know what he's getting out of this. I know they said what they want is submission, but that's not something you can really measure. Like, I don't know what the Kree are getting out of this. I feel like these Kree are probably a splinter, because that's a lot of things that the Kree do. They split off quite a bit.
Can I postulate a guess?
Yeah.
I mean, Earth is the planet where, they had their whole Inhumans project.
Sure.
And granted, I will be completely honest, I have not had the chance to watch Inhumans yet, so I don't know if they touch on this
Oh
really
my,
at all.
you haven't
I
watched
know,
Inhumans?
I'm such a fake geek girl. I'm so sorry. But
Oh my
But-
gosh.
Just, I didn't
know.
even finish it. Just spare yourself. Spare yourself.
But
Read a wiki
point being
page.
is that, Earth was the Kree's Inhuman project, and they tried to deal with it in a number of ways. Maybe after an Inhuman destroyed the Earth, they felt like, at least way back then, it was some, like, oh, it's our responsibility to go in and sort of sweep up this mess.
That does not sound very Kree-like in
I
the
don't
No,
know.
slightest.
they would just
man.
be like, "Oh well, experiment failed.
Yeah, they would-
moving on."
They would probably
Unless
destroy
it's
Earth if they
punishment
knew.
for Cassius. See, we're all assuming that Cassius
Yeah,
is
that's
there
what I'm
as a
thinking.
reward, but
Yeah.
maybe he's thrust into the situation because you've done something to earn
That's what I'm thinking as well.
this
Yeah.
punishment, and now you must be with the me.
You cross the
it's
line.
still-
You cross the line. You get to be king of the ashes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But it still begs the question of but why
Why?
to all this? Like, what are if are they like harvesting something
we're
for
on
him?
episode 2,
Are they
Zach.
getting?
Like by we're on
Well, no, but these are the
episode 2.
questions that I'm
Yeah.
asking
Sure,
right now.
and it
It's
should
like,
be.
So, or is there some energy? Are they still finding Inhumans amongst these people? In which case, they're like the Inhumans having turned out to be somewhat of a success. In
I
terms
don't
of
think
warriors.
they're finding Inhumans because we found no warriors, except they did mention something about Mac going to the crater and fighting, which reminds me of when the X-Men went to the moon and fought. So it's like, do they have this like gladiator games
They might.
on the moon?
I mean,
or
Thor
the crater?
Ragnarok did just come out, so.
A very similar type warrior fight game. And I do want to give a shout out to Dominique Reigns, who's playing Cassius, who is a third cousin of mine, and I was very surprised to see him in that role. He was on
This is why
Captain
we can't
America.
trust Tehran.
This is why Captain America. First of all, he's a CIA trainer in Captain America, which I thought was a big deal when I saw it in the movie.
That's cool.
And now this.
That's
So,
pretty cool.
Excellent. But he tells me all about his little independent, artsy, smartsy
And
movies.
you're like, why didn't you tell me you were in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D?
Yeah, oh, you were in Daffodil Flowers on the Bloom? Yeah, I don't watch that.
I
you know?
loved Daffodil Flowers on the Bloom. I thought it was fantastic.
I'm
That
sure.
It
movie of
made
the
me
year.
cry. There were no flowers in it.
Not a single one.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing is, like, these are all questions that hopefully will get answered soon. Because it's part of, like, the narrative process is, like, we need to know what we are fighting against or what we are trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's the thing.
And,
It's
like, we just don't, whenever anyone asks that question in the show, they just get answered with survive. Like, we get introduced to Tess in the second, and, like, she is Virgil's friend, but there's, like, some,
Like, he was clearly
there's some
interested,
will
but
they,
she's
won't
like,
they,
you were
which
crazy.
kind of lends to your theory that Virgil's Fitz's descendant, because his
That's a very
bloodline
Fitz
is
thing
cast
to do.
to be in these hopeless relationships. That is one of the things that kind of we were talking about that frustrated me about this episode, is it feels like every season Gemma and Fitz get separated from the team.
Yeah.
And it feels like every season there is a Deus Ex Machina or just a writing thing. They write someone away from the team, and it's almost always Gemma and Fitz. And it's just kind of like, we've seen this before.
I will.
We've seen Gemma stranded from the team so often,
Yeah.
and
Like, she's like, I'm used to this.
and Elizabeth Henderson always does a fantastic job with it, acting wise. But
Absolutely.
that doesn't mean we need to do it again. Like, we've seen her deal with Maveth.
Yeah.
We've seen her deal with being stuck in the framework by herself
Yeah.
for a while. Like,
When she was in Hydra for a little bit.
Yeah, like ever since season 2, this has been a reoccurring plotline, and
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a bad plotline. But come season 5, when we see it again, it's like, I hope this doesn't last for more than like 2 episodes, because that is starting to get a little repetitive. Also, not to mention that Cassius totally seems to have a thing for her, and that's super gross and unsettling.
Yeah, he's inserted a crazy domination device.
Well,
where,
is it gross because he's blue, and you don't think that blue people?
Oh my
No, it
goodness.
looks like he
Listen.
put
Oh my
mercury
gosh.
in her ear.
You guys heard it here first. Tehran is hashtag Blue Lives Matter.
Listen, I didn't touch.
Slide away.
No, I have no idea.
everything here.
I'm not even a part of this.
Please don't fall. Please don't fall.
No, he's inserted this weird domination device into her where the only thing she can hear is his voice, and that's it. Like, he put the silver mercury in her ear, and the only thing she's allowed to hear is his
She
voice.
couldn't hear his voice in the beginning, so is she
It's-
regaining her hearing?
When he wants
When
her
he
to
wants
hear.
her to
When he wants
hear.
her to
She
hear.
can hear what he wants her to hear. He
I
has
need
complete
some of this
control.
stuff. I need some of the stuff. This is why I just fall in love with these villains.
I
you know?
Toronto
worry
wants to give
about
it to
you,
his
Tehran.
audience,
They have
so they can't
amazing-
like.
Can't hear anyone
I
else.
really worry about you, Tehran. But let's talk about Daisy for a minute, because supposedly when she goes to track down where Deke has gone, she finds that he created the framework, and that's what's basically being used to keep the population at large complacent.
Yeah.
And he basically is the one that puts 2 and 2 together and makes the assumption that Daisy is the one that destroyed the world. Now, do we think that's correct, or do we think it's something else? Because as we saw earlier this week, a little thing called the Infinity War trailer dropped. It's just the most watched trailer of all time.
If it's something else, then it's lazy writing. Like, you wouldn't put a red herring like that up front, like, and add all of this tension and stakes. Like, now Daisy is going to be like, I destroyed the world, all of this tension and all of this kind of guilt put on her character, only to have it written off where it's like, oh no, he was wrong. It was something completely different.
They set up this, like, everybody has their own version of the story.
Yeah.
But I guess that was just to deflect. It just feels weird that, like, you have this giant, like, and I wonder if they were sent to the future because they needed to avoid being in the world where Infinity War is going to take place.
That might be it, yeah.
But there's so many, like, there's so many I don't like when the entire world is threatened in a show like this because we've done it so many times.
Sure.
Like, the whole world's at stake is sort of a boring plot line.
You want it to be more personal.
I want I want personal stakes. I want Daisy to be dealing with, like, family stuff. Like, I'd rather her have,
You're
like,
a bad
problems
person.
with
I just want to let you know. What is Daisy? You want to be worried about someone? It should be this guy.
Well, no. What he's
I
saying,
want Daisy's family to go through hardship.
No, what Zach is saying is, like,
interesting.
when you're using that as a device, like, world-threatening things, we've seen it so much in media that it no longer holds the stakes that something more personal. Where, like, if Daisy was worried about her dad, like, we see how that personally affects her. When we see that Daisy is destroying the world, that's so huge.
But we don't know if that's not a stake. We don't know what's going on with Fitz. So
Sure.
we don't know if Fitz is at stake. All we know is that Ontario card.
He wrote a postcard that
A postcard.
somehow got however far into the future we are.
Yeah.
And that's gonna play a huge part
Absolutely.
somehow.
Yeah, it's got to.
So
and it'll be interesting, like, how they do it and, like, who is behind all this. Zias B. Lou in the chat has this awesome list of, like, they're gonna have to. The big battle have to be somebody the movies have no use for.
Yeah.
And then, like, there's a bunch of people on this list, but I love that they throw out the Beyonder, Shuma Garath, and then
my God.
Ex Nihili, who is Ex Nihili is, like, this guy who, like,
Giant gold moon boy.
yeah, he can, like, go, like, basically, like, just, like, terraform a world, like, bring it to life. He's like a walking monolith from 2001.
I'm all for Shuma Gorath, personally.
no, at this point with all these threats, I would just be like, you know what, guys? Here, have the planet. Like, what do you want with us at this point?
Well, also, the lighthouse seems like that falls in line with Sword and Shield
Which
naming stations.
we sort of got a little wink
It's also
to
a
the
thing from
camera.
Lost.
We sort of got a little wink to the camera when Yo-Yo mentions, don't you guys have, like, some sort of other like spear or something? And it's like,
Sword. Sword.
What are the odds that we're gonna see Sword by the time the
Does Coulson
I
know
think
about
they've been
Sword?
clear that it's not.
Yeah.
Does Coulson know about Sword?
I don't think so. Oh, in the comic books.
If it even exists in this universe.
Yeah, in the
We
comic
haven't been-
books,
that
no
hasn't
one
been
knew
confirmed.
about Sword, and then, like, Abigail Brand's like, yeah, we were secret.
Because wasn't there a nod to Sword in the end of the last episode?
We just all
We just
thought it was,
speculated.
we all
because
made
we were
the
like,
assumption.
why the hell would we be in space?
Unless it's-
And, like, I'm more confused now than I was at the end of last season.
I feel like Abigail Brand might be, and Sword may, like, they do a lot of stuff with the X-Men, so I'm not sure where those.
I think we like, people uncovered that, like, she was available for the MCU.
Yeah, because she was she dated Beast, right?
She dated
Yeah.
Beast for a long time, and, like, they did a lot of, like, War of Kings and all of that kind of
I
stuff.
think it's a
any
case
space
where both companies technically would have the rights to, like.
stuff. So one of them would be called Brand, and the other would be named Abigail.
No, well, they don't get half the name.
Yeah.
No, but, like, where they can, like, it's just like Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Yeah,
where, like,
that's what I'm
there's a
saying.
certain amount of, like, you have rights. You both have the right to use this character. Whether
Yeah.
you both are going to is a different story.
Or the Skrulls, where MCU has the rights to the alien Skrulls, but I think
not the Super
Fox,
Skrull.
Fox has rights to all of the named Skrulls. So, like, Paybok the Power Skrull, Killer the Super Skrull, all of them are Fox.
You know what's funny? Because there's a lawyer who's like, I went to Harvard for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's just a lawyer who's got to go through and be like, okay, the guy.
Okay, so Super Skrull, yours.
Yeah. Everyone else.
I disagree. I think there's a lawyer like, this is why I went to law school.
This is why I went to law school.
Everyone made fun of me for reading those comic books.
I got this.
Yeah, I don't
He's pulling
imagine.
down those Disney Fox dollars.
I don't imagine Thurgood Marshall thinking this.
I did have-
Graduate. I'm sorry.
I did have a former
he wasn't a
coworker
big Skrull
who
fan.
started working for business affairs for one of the cartoon networks that's out there right now. And so she was like, "Do you know much about this?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, this show's good. This show's good." And she's like, "How do you know?"
Because I watch them every day from morning until night.
It's fine. But we are running a little short on time, so I do wanna ask about Tess and Grill and Deke, these new characters that we are introduced to. How much do you guys think we can actually trust these guys? Because Grill makes it pretty apparent that he'd leave them out to try pretty quickly.
And I mean, so as Deke has also kind of showed that, like, as long as he's getting paid. But I agree with you. He's like the Han Solo
I
archetype.
actually have a lot of faith in Deke. Deke seems to have a very human connection to something, and especially to this.
He seems
this
to
cult
have lost
of S.H.I.E.L.D.
something, yeah.
Seems to have lost someone, and I think that that's going to play a much bigger part. Come back in 4 or 5 episodes where you look back and you're like, oh, his mom or his loved one was a true believer in Deke.
Yeah.
Followed, and then something.
And then something terrible happened.
Or
to them.
she's
true
Sonara.
believers.
We don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it's something.
Eaten by a roach, or
Yeah.
didn't wasn't so lucky in whatever renewal happened. And that's another thing is like, how often do these renewals actually go?
I wonder if it's the Village situation where Earth is fine. And like the Kree are just lying to everyone in humanity. And
That
saying,
was actually soming I was going to bring up.
Oh,
If
it's
this,
all fake?
This
Yeah.
image of Earth is
Interesting.
actually real.
I think it's
Yeah.
real. I think it's real in this future, and they need to save Earth.
I'd be pissed if it wasn't real.
As would I. They would have to do some sort of real hard writing in order to make it not cheesy.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Especially
that is being said. Earth, the way it is right now, does not physically make sense.
Yeah. From a science perspective, that doesn't. It's no.
But it is a very
Because it has an atmosphere.
yeah.
on
It
that
looks like there's an atmosphere. It
There's
looks like
still water.
there's water.
Sure, but you
It
also
lo-
still have Kree technology. So what they specifically said was it's not fit for humans. They didn't mention Kree.
No,
they didn't mention
they said the
anyone else.
roaches took it.
Sure, they said the road, but they didn't say it's not meant for anyone else. Maybe Kree came, tried to save the place, didn't work out, kept some
Just kept
atmospheric.
that.
I guess they
there.
could have
machinery
put like
on Earth.
a atmosphere generator around that one little section.
Yeah.
But it's not like it's just like red all over and like the Earth, like the planet.
What did you call
They
it?
blew
Tibbly,
it up.
tobbly, wobbly, wibbly? Can it be one of those?
It
Wibbly wobbly,
absolutely can.
timey-wimey.
Look, you could science this away
Yeah.
in like
I'm
two
just-
lines of dialogue.
I'm just
if
saying
you
I
want
don't know.
to.
I don't know how water is staying on the surface and not floating away.
It's possible, and granted, I don't think it really matters, but it is possible that the Kree are utilizing what's left of Earth for their own purposes.
Yeah.
Either, I don't know, to exploit their natural
Well,
resources.
they are mining something because they keep sending the trawler out, and people are owing something when they come back to.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we got to figure
So
that
we
out.
have to see, what are they mining? Where are they getting the stuff? Where's this, mineral that they need? What is it?
Yeah.
Is it unobtainium?
Oh, I
bet
hope it's
unobtainium.
unobtainium. You know what that one plastic. Here's the reason why you can't go to Earth. You know that one piece of Earth that like you can't get to? It's Wakanda. It's just like the Kree gave up. They can't take it over. They're like, don't go near there. Anyone who tries to invade Wakanda fails. It's just.
That is spectacular.
That's what it is. That's my running theory.
That's why it's still it's a vibranium
Yeah, it's a
atmosphere.
vibranium
gosh.
atmosphere. They have the scientists to keep that together. Like, yeah, it's Wakanda.
I didn't see a lot of black people on the station. I'll say that.
They're all
I'll
in
say that. I
paradise.
didn't see a lot of black. I saw one black Kree servant, and that was about it.
Yeah.
Just him and Mac. That's
it.
about it.
It was her. It was a her.
Oh,
Actually.
that's right. That's right.
Yes, it was nice, wonderful. The Rosa Parks of Kree servants. I don't know. She was just there, and then you know.
That's some amazing fan fiction.
We just talked fan fiction. We're gonna have to steer away from that. So we've talked a lot about, you know, the lead up to the future. We've talked a lot about the lighthouse. Is there anything else really that we want to touch on before we kind of talk a little bit of news and gossip? Because I do want to talk a little bit about the Infinity War trailer.
Yeah, I mean, they're just like some. This episode is nice because it kind of. I think it was very successful in reminding us. It's been a year since we've seen S.H.I.E.L.D.
It's been a bit.
And it was very successful in reminding us like the character dynamics, who everyone was. Like Mac was super Mac in this. Coulson was very Coulson. And Daisy was very Daisy.
They did a good job of like being like, hey, remember how we did this? Remember how we did this?
Yeah,
which was a nice refresher.
I think it was very successful. It might be sounding like we've been complaining about this episode. I'm not. I think it is a good episode. I'm excited to see what is going forward, which that is very successful with this episode. Where I'm like, I want to know what's next. We're asking all these questions because we're excited to see how they explain all of this stuff. And I think this episode was super successful and like, man, there were some really good character moments for everyone in this episode where it's like, that is a classic May moment. That's a classic Simmons moment, except for Fitz because we didn't see him. But I think...
He's not even in it.
Yeah.
They didn't even show him in the diner.
Yeah. But like, because of that, it made it like other shows, this would have not been a very good episode. But because we know these characters so well, and because the writing of these characters is so consistent, they can take us to a space station or a framework or, you know, a place in Tibet, and it still feels like we've got these characters there. It might not feel like a spy show still, but it still feels like it's now we've just taken these characters and put them somewhere
But that's
else.
just because they're really bad spies.
They are bad spies.
Hey guys, all we need you to do
It's blend in.
is blend in. So what does Gemma do? The first chance she gets, she does the opposite of blending in every single way possible.
All of them
Even
are
when
bad
people
at
start
blending in.
gasping, she's like, hello.
Well, like that's
Service.
not even counting when they actually start dropping the food off. They're just gawking. They're like, "Oh, what's going on?"
Every
here?
other person in the room is charging for this area, and they're just off to the side like, nah, I ate. I'm good.
I'm like, are
I
they
eat all the
hungry?
time. I eat all the time. Was just eating pie before I got here.
Yeah.
Pie? We've never heard of pie.
Yeah, they're the worst at blending in with their environment. They're like James Bond who just goes around like, I'm 007, a secret agent.
You are the worst
like,
secret
God,
agent.
You say a different name, just any name.
Call yourself Charles
Yeah.
Smith.
His biggest James Bond's biggest catchphrase is outing his secret
name.
identity.
Yeah.
But to the point on Fitz, what do you guys have a theory on why he was left behind?
I think maybe because of his like things he did in the framework. Like maybe
he's his feeling of like guilt and like his like he's too
Well,
dark and like brooding right now.
A good chunk of what
Or is he legit
Deke,
evil?
yeah,
a
he
good
wasn't
chunk-
on the list.
a good chunk of what Deke seems to know about the world does come, I think, in large part from
the framework.
From the framework.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to bring this up, was that I'm wondering how, talking about how Gemma and Fitz are often, you know, torn apart. Fitz being isolated from the rest of the team right after, like, sort of having to come to terms with the fact that he was basically a supervillain for half
Yeah.
a season. He was straight up a supervillain for a good long while and now has been removed from his friends again. How does that affect somebody who's left behind on Earth? With all the crazy stuff that's going on Earth, and is he going to resort to supervillain means of being able to get his friends back? Because we
Sure.
know he's working on it, whatever that means.
I mean, I'm interested to see some people I've seen on Twitter like, is he one of the elders that they've referred to? Because we don't know. Like they referred to this group of people that's an elder.
Yeah.
We don't know how far in the future this is. They said 90 years, but that's 90 years since the Earth was destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess is if Daisy's responsible is like
Within the next
reasonably within the
30
timeline of
years,
now.
yeah.
So like Daisy, so like at maximum maybe 100 years in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this is the MCU. Like, they can put a space station up.
Yeah.
Like, Iron Man's around.
There's
Like, they can launch a space
helicarriers,
station.
They created a sentient robot army. Yeah, like
They got the tech.
It's definitely not out of
the realm of possibility.
Somebody was saying that Ian Casticker Fitz is shooting a movie right now.
That might be
that
why
would explain.
Fitz is MIA at the moment.
Oh yeah, there's a movie that's in post production right now.
And it's called Overlord.
Yeah.
Fitz. Interesting.
The only other bit I want to bring up is that the first couple Kree that we're introduced to, I really appreciated like seeing Kree,
Yeah, it was
like
cool.
it's been a while since we've had a Kree on screen, let alone multiple Kree.
Why are Kree so heavy?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, they were
They were
having
dragging them.
trouble dragging them.
I think it's difficult to carry any bodies, and these seem to be like a warrior cast.
No. You can carry bodies.
I'm just
Alright.
I'm just
I
gonna
don't know
point
about
out
Kree.
that one of the Kree people that they killed, his name, the actor's name is Derek Mears, and he does a lot of stuff here in Los Angeles. The man is very, very tall.
Yeah,
He
they
played
were big
Jason
boys.
in the reboot of Friday the 13th. He is a very big man in real life, so that might have just been like
Sure, but
them
Mac
actually
isn't a
having
weak
trouble.
guy, and
No.
he was having trouble carrying or dragging them. It
the-
seemed to be effort.
Maybe the guy's coat was really heavy.
I liked
Like they were working in a very cold room.
I like the Chekhov space axe. They very clearly showed the Kree putting his space axe on the side, and it was
When
like,
they threw the shotgun
and it's
down.
like Mac definitely has Inhuman powers, but they just are axe related, axe and shotgun related.
I'm
like,
just waiting for the moment where he gets a hold of that shotgun
Yeah.
and then like just needs to spend time on the lighthouse going, I just need some duct tape, guys.
Yeah.
That's all I
That's
need.
true. They had a shotgun and an axe in this episode.
Yeah.
They're just like, here, Mac. Here's your
here's
stuff.
your superpowers.
I just want to touch on, once again, a lot of the political innuendos that we saw.
Go for it.
example, technology being removed from people
Yeah.
and
Keeping them in the dark.
keeping them in the dark,
Dark
because
ages,
any
yeah.
knowledge is power. And
Absolutely.
it's something we discussed a little bit about net neutrality.
Yeah.
You were informing me about exactly what's going on.
This is what happens if they take away net neutrality. You
Guys.
take away your ability to communicate, and suddenly there's blue aliens running around conquering everybody.
Call the
Logan's Run
FCC.
situation.
And there was also another situation where drugs were used to placate people.
Yeah.
And so when asked, do the Kree know? He goes, absolutely they
Absolutely,
know.
yeah.
In fact, they encourage it.
In fact, he
to
kind of
make it secretive.
He kind
just
of used
because.
that to like get them out of jail in the first place. He was like, "I'll make sure you have a good time." Like
Yeah.
we thought, like, what sort of shady under the tail thing
Yeah.
are you doing? But he meant framework stuff,
Yeah.
as far as we know.
As far as we know. So it's just interesting how, and then the North Korea
Comments.
Very blatant
comment that was
reference,
just
yeah.
sit there about the dictatorship.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of things like that that were placed, and
Yeah.
I haven't seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. be this overtly political.
It felt like the
and
framework
art
was
imitated life.
Yeah, the
And I thought it
framework was pretty
the
heavy.
framework,
framework
and
was-
the Inhuman kind of following the Muslim ban kind of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like the framework stuff was very on the nose, and not that that's necessarily a bad thing, because clearly we live in a day and age where you need to be on the nose, apparently, about some stuff. But I feel like this stuff, it was a little bit more subtle. It was a little bit more, like I said, I liked the framework stuff, but this it felt a little bit more integrated into the narrative.
I actually thought it was the opposite. I thought the other ones were more subtle because they were, hey, within the confines. But this one, they were just like, yeah, this reminds me of North Korea's dictator.
I agree that was
who
not
all
a
of
very
us,
subtle line.
that was very overt, and that's why I felt it was more overt in this one, because they, in the framework, they weren't just like, oh my gosh, this reminds me of Trump America.
Yeah.
That's not what they
I
did.
don't know.
but-
At one point, Fitz said, "Nevertheless, she persisted."
Yeah.
That is true. I think it was a mix of both, because I think you're picking up on a lot of like themes that are prevalent in sci-fi in general, but they're bringing it here because they're specifically like pointing to what we're dealing with as a
Sure, the
society
obsession
right now.
of the dystopian future
Yeah.
is always prevalent.
Yeah, and so I think it's a mix of both, because the North Korea line is super blatant and obvious, but like some of the other themes, like the idea that taking away technology is a way to control a populace.
Yeah.
This populace is completely sated. Like you said before, they have numbers.
Well,
if they
even-
wanted to, they could take over, but none of them want to.
Even just the-
because they're being fed and they've got their drugs.
They can't
And they don't
see,
need it.
and they also can't see how they would do it.
Yeah.
They can't communicate about it. They can't organize. Like And if they tried to, if they got out of line a little bit, their number goes down, and then they do what was it called?
Reclamation.
Reclamation.
Yeah.
Renewal.
Renewal.
And-
And then they get
And not
killed.
to mention, when the 2 Kree soldiers are killed, Deke freaks out. He's like, "You did what?
You
Like-
killed Kree because they're going to punish everyone, but that's the concept of any protest.
Yeah.
And the fear is, I wish someone would do something about this, and no one looks and goes, wait, I am someone.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everyone's afraid of the punishment, but here's the situation even politically. You can't kill everybody. And everyone's afraid to be the ones that get killed.
And-
I
Unless
think
you're
the
Daisy.
blown up Earth would beg
No,
to
but
disagree.
the blown up Earth wasn't a political act.
No.
So
No.
when
No.
it comes to a protest, any conqueror, no matter who the oppressor is, you can't kill everybody. And that's what we've seen in this country when it's come to situations of that. We've seen this across the world. We've seen this even in the Revolutionary War. You just cannot kill everybody.
Like you said, there was a little V for Vendetta thrown
There
in
was,
there.
There
and
was,
that's
yeah.
why I thought it was very pertinent to have episodes like this, which plays out in a lot of things that we as a society and as millennials need to be aware of and realize, because that complacency, that being comforted, that, hey, we're being fed just
Yeah.
enough, that's not enough.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely. I agree.
I like the dialogue between Deke and Daisy because she is very much trying to incite him to action. And he's like, dude, the Earth already burned. What more do you want? Hope is dead.
hope
he's
gets
the-
you in trouble.
He's the king of a very sad kingdom.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. All right, I think that just about does it for the episode. Let's talk some news and gossip and talk about the Infinity War trailer a little bit.
Sure.
But also, do you want to talk Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. gossip first?
Sure, go for it.
Because there was a big announcement, and I'm not super familiar with this actress, but the internet like lit up with like a fire
Yeah.
because they announced that Dove Cameron is joining the cast. Not in this episode. We haven't seen her yet.
Yeah.
But she will be joining us, like joining them soon in some top secret role.
Man,
Do we think that she's one of the Inhumans that they talked about in the preview?
that's possible.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this episode and I was like, man, it would have been great to have Hunter and Mockingbird here. And instead they wrote them off for the show that never happened.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
miss-
heard a rumor. That was the other thing in the offseason.
Yeah.
I heard a rumor that Hunter was coming back.
That'd be fantastic.
I
So I'm
miss
hoping
them.
that we get like
He and
this is
Fitz?
just
Hunter and Fitz sideshow.
a hits. Bring the hits.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that this is just like the first arc of the show, the same way that we had like the Ghost Rider arc, and then
Yeah.
we moved into the framework arc, and then we come back to like a more normal spy-based Shield, and we get Hunter, we get Fitz, we get like all kinds of people. But yeah, Dove Cameron, who
I really
people may know
loved-
from Liv and Maddie or Descendants. I guess I don't know those things, but you guys do.
Yeah.
So
I really loved
huzzah.
the announcement that they made on Twitter because like it was her doing a little video and going like, "Hey guys, I just want to tell you," and like Coulson comes up and he's just like, "No," and she's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, I was wrong. The chat's real upset. It is confirmed that Hunter is coming back this
Okay,
season.
absolutely great.
But I'm pretty sure that Adrian Palicki she's off in a different part of space.
Yeah.
So Mockingbird's not coming back because she's off captaining a starship with Seth MacFarlane.
Great. And Patton Oswalt.
I guess we won't be seeing Kanan anytime soon.
you never know.
Yeah.
You never
He
know.
only has to pop in for like 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay, guys, that's
Kanan forever.
all fantastic. Let's go ahead and delve into the Infinity War trailer a little bit.
Damn, it's a good trailer.
It is so cool. Initial thoughts.
That the trailer was better than the entire Justice League movie and universe. Did
Yep.
I say that out loud?
Yeah, you said it out loud.
I
You can't-
apologize to
Warner Brothers, please do not.
Apologize to Wonder Woman because that was a good movie. But
Wonder Woman is amazing.
It was very good.
And I thought even when the Wonder Woman little music comes on, I get a little excited.
you're like,
Yeah.
"Aw."
It was
but,
nice to see a heroic hero.
But yeah, the thing about and I talked about this a little bit with a friend of mine, but like the thing about looking at Infinity War versus Justice League is that Infinity War has been a 10-year buildup because The
2008
first
was,
Iron
Yeah,
Man came
2008.
out in 2008, and Infinity War will be out in 2018.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Got
a
math,
10-year.
Jesse.
Well, no, because Feig has been planning it since like 2004.
Oh yeah, but for the audience, it's
Yeah.
For the audience, it's been 10 years since the first film in the Marvel
Sure.
Cinematic Universe
Feige.
came
But
out.
Justice League, the universe, is just not good. I'm sorry.
It was
the TV
rushed.
shows are fun.
Yeah.
We could play this Marvel vs. DC game all day.
You guys
Let's
can
just
like
talk
I want
about
to
Justice
know
League
what you
if you
guys
like.
liked in the actual trailer.
Can I just say that even though it was only a brief second, seeing the mind gem ripped out from Vision was heart wrenching, and I'm so
Loved it.
upset by it.
I think
Loved it.
it's so cool to see that Hawkeye's stealth suit is working so well. we didn't see him at all.
Dude, I found the biggest TV I could, and I still couldn't find Ant-Man in those shots.
Yeah. Well, that's because he's in the microverse.
Yeah.
I like that we get confirmed that Spider-Man has Spidey sense.
Yes,
We get
that was lovely.
we get the hair standing up.
Yeah, that was a nice visual of just obviously it was going to exist,
Yeah.
but I like the way that that they're choosing to display it
Instead of lines around his head.
I would have been on board for that too.
Me too.
My only complaint about this, and it's not even a complaint about the trailer, is that Infinity War is broken up into 2 movies, and I just
No,
hate when they
see,
do
that's
that.
the thing. I
think it's
think
2
that was a
arcs.
misconception in the way that they initially promoted it.
Yeah.
And it's not Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2 because they didn't even the second Avengers movie that's coming out as part of this isn't Infinity War.
Yeah.
It is going to have a completely different name that they haven't told us. Like they've been specific.
Okay,
We can't
thank
tell
goodness.
you because
Yeah.
it's a spoiler. Like the
So
title
it's
of the
called,
second
like,
movie
Avengers,
is
not Infinity War.
it's
Avengers,
almost
there's everyone
no
is
way,
dead.
There's no
I'm
way
guessing-
it's not New Avengers.
I'm guessing it's Avengers Dissembled. Like,
Disassembled.
yeah. Like,
It could be. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a book, but like
it's a book that already exists, and it was from a different event.
But if they were to say that, then
but
that's
that-
a huge spoiler.
I don't. But that
Is
just
Iron Man alive in that? Because I don't know if Iron Man makes it out of this.
Well, in the Infinity War comic book, everyone dies save for a few ground level people. Almost everyone dies, and then it gets timey-wimeyed away. But
probably what we're gonna.
which is probably what we're gonna
weird.
get.
Except for the actors whose contracts are up.
Yeah. In Dissembled, he is still alive. But I think what we're looking at is it's going to end and it's going to be sad. It's going to be the Two Towers ending. It's going to be we don't know what's going on. Everyone's separated and either dead or dying.
I don't think there's any way Steve Rogers makes it out of that movie.
I don't think
Alive. I don't think-
Loki makes it out. I don't think Steve Rogers makes it out.
who are you people? I don't think Santa Claus is real. Listen, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay?
Speculation
We're
is what we do.
speculating. We're speculating.
Can we speculate as where the Asgardians were when Earth was being ripped apart? And
We're
Well, we know
going to
they're in
dig
a-
into that because a little bit of Infinity War was shown at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And it featured Thor running into a group of silly space people, which the trailer's out. So we know Thor basically runs into the Guardians of the Galaxy.
And
Yeah.
at
The
the
hell are you guys?
and at the end of Ragnarok, we see that the Asgardians are
Spoilers, BT dubs.
Oh yeah, guys! Spoilers if you haven't seen Ragnarok, go see it. Just for the soundtrack, it's amazing.
Big old spoiler warning.
Yeah,
For the post credits.
At the end of Ragnarok, we see that the Asgardians that are still alive are kind of in a life raft, a spaceship. So we don't know. They're drifting around trying to find.
I thought they end up on Earth in the Netherlands.
That was
That's
kind
where
of
they
their
were
plan,
going, but
but who
Oh, they get
knows?
stopped.
then Thanos shows up.
Yeah.
Good old Thanos.
That guy. Although not even gonna lie, that this is an aside. When I was watching Thor Ragnarok
Spoilers end.
as Hela's doing her thing, I was like, why are we waiting for Thanos? I'm in love.
Well, the theory is that Thanos might be in love with her as well.
Because she's the
Yeah.
goddess of death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be great to give her some more to do. But in this trailer, what I love is there's so many pieces of what this story is going to be. I love the little teams that we have built up.
Yeah.
I got weirdly I'm more excited than I ever thought I would for Stark and Strange to team up.
Yes.
For some reason, the two of them being together, I'm
Yeah, why
let's
not?
do that.
Let's get a
Zach,
goatee
it's
off.
okay. We're still your friends. We love you.
I like how
I'm
much
down.
I like how much character they gave Thanos. He he gets that line where he's like, I didn't think conquering the universe was going to be fun or something like that. He's like, but this is going to be very interesting.
He
reminds
says,
me
this
of a
does put a smile
young
on my
This
face.
does put a smile
And then
on my
he
face.
punches Iron Man.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's like, yeah, like why not have a villain with character? Like
Yeah.
why not give him? Why
Yeah,
not
DC.
Why not?
Not
give-
just
Listen,
jump,
I'm so sorry. I'm bitter because I paid money to see that movie.
not just
If I
jumping
hadn't
out of a
paid
portal in the
money,
sky
it
and
would've
being like, "This is for mother," and
Yeah.
then like, "I'm gonna fight you guys."
Yeah,
Like,
but like
he's a
they
person
they
with,
gave him
like-
so much character in just those lines, and it's like, you know what? I never thought the giant purple fork-chinned guy would look cool on the screen, but he looks really cool, and he looks intimidating. Like, and we see that he's got
He's been memed to death at this point,
Yeah.
but it still looks good.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm just so excited, and I know it's gonna probably make me cry because it's going to kill everything
I like that
I
it
love.
looks intense. It doesn't look like, a lot of people have been like complaining that like Marvel is like light, a little
Yeah.
too light and like fluff. Well, I'm like, whatever. It's superhero movies. Calm down. But this is like is gonna like it's the finale, as
Yeah.
Kevin Feige called it. Like this is the finale of
the first half.
first like it's the third phase of the MCU. It's the big first 3 arcs, and like it's not gonna end. Like at
But
least
Feige said he has
Yeah.
20 other movies planned.
yeah.
Yeah,
That sounds exhausting. I'm
Yeah.
not even gonna lie.
I mean that makes sense. Like
we're
yeah.
gonna be 60.
Look, they
when
gotta
this
be.
show
But if
is
they're doing
ends.
3 years, that's only 6 or 7 years out, and like
Yeah.
every movie studio has like at least a rough idea of what they want
Absolutely.
the
at
next
least
10 years to
at least
be.
for their tentpole stuff.
Yeah, and so that's going to include like the 2 next Spider-Man movies and Captain Marvel and
Black
the
Panther.
Black Panther. Well, that's not including the 20, but Black Panther 2, I'm sure is.
Absolutely, yeah.
Can't wait for that movie.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
so
speaking of
excited.
which, like, it looks like there's going to be a battle for Wakanda, which looks really cool.
Dude, they have the Wakanda army
Yeah.
going back with those weird like alien 4-armed
Fistigons, like,
dudes.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
are those like Chitauri?
No,
Like,
those are
plus?
I think they're called the Runners. They're in the last time he came and he had like his Black Order. They had like these kind of scout things that would like go. And I remember one of them like snuck into and tried to
into
kill Black Bolt, and like he killed it, and it failed, and it got to die. Like all of Thanos's people at that time worshiped death. So like the ultimate reward for their actions was
Was
to
death.
die. And like I feel like if they establish that kind of Black Order, which we know we're going to get, you know, Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight.
Yeah,
and like
we saw at least Proxima.
we saw Proxima throw a spear. I think Corvus Glaive is the one who's taking the Mind Stone. It looks like the end of his glaive. He's named after a glaive, and he has a glaive.
Well, if you're named that, you
Yeah,
just
you
sort of
better be good with it.
You're just like, well, I gotta learn to use this one thing really well.
I have a gun. That doesn't seem very
Yeah.
on brand. Well, it's really useful.
There were people talking about like, because like, is Cap gonna have? Because he's not gonna have his shield. Like, is Wakanda gonna have generated the little force one that he, or like the energy field one that he has in the comics for a while? To which I said, Shield already got
Shield
one.
already
of those.
did that.
Coulson's running around with it in his spare hand.
Now,
Which he doesn't have.
I feel it's
Yeah,
safe
poor
to
old Coulson's
assume
hand.
that it breaks my heart, but I feel like it's safe to assume that none of our Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. folks are going to be making cameos.
Yeah.
No, that is not even a question.
But
at
I
this
think
point.
we will get what's her name? Robin from How I Met Your Mother.
Maria Hill.
Maria Hill. Forgot Maria Hill's name.
I'm pretty sure that she's gonna be in this. I can't remember if that's confirmed or not. I feel like it was.
I think you
I'm
know
sure.
since you know Fury is still dead, then Hill would still be the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. going forward if S.H.I.E.L.D. exists.
If Coulson doesn't
I
just
mean,
show up,
at this
I don't
point, she's
think
still
they're gonna
working.
say the word shield anywhere in that movie because it's if you even acknowledge shield,
Yeah.
it's gonna get so messy between the show and Winter Soldier and like whatever
That's
the
true.
hell
Yeah.
Fury's
Yeah.
been doing because he's technically in retirement.
Yeah.
So I feel like that just about does it.
I think they're gonna say Shield. I just want them to now.
It would be nice. It would be nice to get a little nod, but
I mean,
I
Black Panther
understand.
says get this man a shield.
That's true. I do think by the end of this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there will be, because it's going to come up right into the spring,
Yeah.
right before Infinity War. I have to think somehow Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to lead into Infinity War in the way that it did Civil War.
Well,
Yeah.
and Age of Ultron.
And Age of Ultron more than Civil War.
Yeah.
Well, guys, that just about does it for tonight. It's been fantastic coming back to talk about the show. I have missed it. And I want to thank all of you guys on Twitter who have been asking about it because it shows that you care.
Yeah.
It means a lot to us. So thank you guys so much. Zach, where can people go if they want to find you?
Well, first of all, if in case you're listening to this later and you're like, where can I watch live? When can I watch live? Go to AfterBuzz TV's sci-fi, fantasy, and superhero channel on YouTube, where we are live every Sunday at 5 p.m. after the episode airs. That's literally as fast as we can get in because it airs on a Friday night.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you guys. I like to sleep on weekends a little bit. Just a little.
Yeah. Also, the studio isn't open.
Yeah,
So
that complicates things. But
Yeah.
yeah, 5 p.m. Pacific time every Sunday. You can keep up with me throughout the week. Tweet me all your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reactions at that Zach Wilson. Find me on Instagram, all the places. ThatZachWilson. And tomorrow night at AfterBuzz, we're going to be finishing up our binge-style show of the Punisher, talking about the last 6 episodes of Netflix's Punisher run.
nice.
Tehran.
I am Tehran, literally at I am Tehran all across the board, and I will never eat pie at a diner again.
Just don't sit at the bar.
You can find me at Twitter and Instagram at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1. I will definitely eat pie again.
I'm Megan Salinas. You guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. And I will exclusively eat pie, especially if it's pecan pie. I am also on a bunch of shows here at AfterBuzz. I write articles for The Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out. Be sure to also check out season 2 of The Shadow Radio Recreation, where I do the voice of Margot Lane. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you all next week.
Daisy, I love you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.